things like Confucius and some of those Eastern philosophers and stuff like that. There's so much that is passed down into their own and then so much of the history we have is because something fantastic enough that Welcome to another episode of the Joe and Doug Show. This is the spot where we try and help you become the best version of yourself. You can call in 330-595-1600. You can guess our fancy little code. I don't know if you've seen the post, but Joe's put how many dollars are in here?
$400 in cash.
100, not Monopoly money.
Not Monopoly.
Real $100 bills.
Real crisp $100 bills.
Freshly printed in the back of Youngstown Studio.
Perhaps.
And then there's AirPod Pros in there as well. If you call in and guess the code, you'll be able to win the prize. So call in, guess the code. That's 330-595-1600. Our show is all about helping you become the best version of yourself. And so in order to do that, we have coffee.
Coffee. Like the best coffee. Do you know the story on where this coffee came from, by the way?
It's wonderful.
Well, let me tell you the coffee. So are you watching Cobra Kai?
I have not seen any of Cobra Kai.
So basically Cobra Kai, the extended of the Karate Kid. You get to see where Ralph Macchio and where, whatever, the other karate people ended up. And as part of the show, they had Ralph Macchio owns a car dealership. Mm-hmm. And they made a comment that, hey, everybody prefers the Nespresso coffee machine. I'm like, what? Coffee machine? I don't know about this thing. And so I immediately went and bought a Nespresso coffee machine. And I set it up. I was like, holy shnikes. This is amazing. And so that's where the coffee came from.
Is it a special type of bean or
no? I don't even know. It's all Nespresso.
It's Folgers,
That's it. No, it's all self-contained things, so you don't really pick anything except for you hit a button and it figures out what's awesome. And
3D prints the coffee for you.
Probably does the whole thing, but I'm in love.
Oh, it's great. Well, I think the topic where I kind of want to go today, and that's where we'll start, but we'll see where we'll end up. That's usually how it goes.
See, a little, yeah.
I want to talk about changing people's minds. I want to talk about the power of persuasion, helping people shift their thinking. I know it's a big part of what you do in a lot of your business coaching. It's a big part of what I do in pastoring people, helping them see their current situation and then be willing to take the steps necessary to get the change that they want, and sometimes the change they don't even know that they need. So what's that journey been like for you? I know you've run into some tough cookies, some tough nuts to crack, so to speak, and then you've had others, I'm sure, that are willing and teachable and ready to run. How do you navigate changing your own mind first? What sort of things do you do to help set yourself up so that when you want to make a change, because you got to fix the neural pathways, you got to fix the verbiage coming out of your mouth, you got to fix the actions. There's a process to it. You don't just wake up and go, oh, I'm going to be different today. There's a series of events that you kind of have to walk through. So how does Joe do that personally? And then we'll get into how we help other people change.
So I think there's a lot of ingrained things that you fight against when it comes to change. And I think most of us out there are not even changeable. Like you said that you're an easy person to teach. There's some people that no matter what you do, no matter pain inflicted, no matter what, they're going to stay where they're at. Even if they're like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be this way, but I'm this way. Right. And so I'm even though I talk a lot, I don't like to communicate that kind of stuff through words. I like action. I like modeling. I like, I'll show you and then hand to you type of stuff. And then I want you to ask me the questions that you're interested in. I can't assume that you want to know about something. I'm going to say, here's the thing. What do you want to know about it? And some people are like, I don't care, and it's over. But
that is a 100% how I do my discipleship stuff. So, somebody that wants that. So when Jesus called his first followers, he said, come follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. He used a very practical illustration. Several of them were fishermen. But in that sense, the responsibility of the person learning or wanting to change is the come follow, and the responsibility of the person they're following is, let me show you how to make yourself like this. I'm going to make you. And I think for a lot of people, they have either a lazy perception of what that looks like. They're like, well, teach me everything, Joe. And you want me to show up what time? You know,
right.
Like, can't you just, can't you text that to me? Or
can you put it on my porch? I'll pick it up later.
Can you make it as convenient for me as possible? And it's like, well, no, it doesn't work that way. If you want change, there's work you have to put in. And so I often will say to people, like, I'll gladly open up my calendar. We can find a slot. I'll meet with you. We can talk about whatever you want. But at the end of the day, this isn't, when I pursue my mentors and I pursue change in my life, like, you need to ride to the airport at 5 a.m. I'm there. Like, you mean I get 45 minutes in the car with you and I get to ask questions and stuff? I'm going to have 16 questions to ask you as we drive to the airport. And some people are like, well, that's crazy. Like, no, like there's a cost to the change that you want. There was a cost. You paid a price to get to where you're at now, whether you paid it involuntarily or on purpose. At the end of the day, you got here paying a price. And so it's going to cost you to come out. And most people just want it easy. Just tell me what to do. Just give it to me. Or, I'm sure you deal with this when you talk to people about, money and investing. Some people would rather hand you the money and be like, hey, can you put it in for me?
Yeah, right.
In that sense, don't teach me how to do it. But if you could fish and catch fish for me,
exactly.
And that's such a cop out to the whole process. And so I'm 100% like, hey, I'll open my calendar to you. We can do this, but why don't you come to this event with me? Or why don't you, I'm going here. Why don't you come with me? And I heard a mentor early on say that leaders never do anything by themselves. And so when people are hungry for that, I'm like, oh, do you want to come? I used to go out to TCT a lot. You came with me one time. Yeah. I almost always take somebody with me. One, I'm a social butterfly, and so driving in the car for 45 minutes by myself, if I don't have somebody, I'm calling somebody, like I'm not doing that ride, or I'm listening to a podcast. But if I can bring somebody with me and I can spend that time investing, I can bring them into a world maybe they wouldn't otherwise go. Aaron's come with me a couple times. I brought Pastor Mike once or twice, and being able to do that, for me, it's like, hey, this is something I'm already doing. And you get to come see this process. You get to come see, a different side of ministry stuff. So yeah, 100% the modeling. I think the more time you spend with somebody, the more you become like them. Rick Warren says you spell love Time, and the more time you invest, the more you tweak and change and become like the person you're with. So
now we do this very publicly, and the benefit of doing this publicly is that some people will weed themselves out before they waste a lot of your time. Yeah. Right. I have people, and you'll probably get to share this with me here shortly, but they message us on our pages like 5 and 6 times. Hey, will you pay attention to me? Will you give me a chance? Will you give me an opportunity? I'll do anything for you. And like, this one dude has messaged me like 7 times since Saturday about if I'll just give him a phone call. So you have one dude who wants you to mail it into him and put it on his porch, and he couldn't waste the effort. And you have other people that are completely other side of the spectrum. Who do you think I want to spend the most time with?
Exactly.
Big time.
It's easier to feed hungry people.
Absolutely.
It's easier to feed hungry people. And some people, well, that's not fair. Some people don't have the time. It's like, well, my time's valuable too. And so, the person that is desperate, the person that's going to create space in their schedule, the person that's going to, knock down the door with 7 messages or phone calls or show up here or what, don't show up here. Yeah.
The armed guards would need to.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, that kind of tenacity, and that goes to some of the illustrations, I think, and even your favorite book, slowly becoming one of my top 5 is Think and Grow Rich. You see that in that illustration with so many of the folks that are used in the stories there. They just had a tenacity. The guy who wanted to work for Edison just showed up and was like, I'll clean your shop, and just refused to go home until he gave him a broom. Right. Like that sort of tenacity gets you places. And I think it was Barnes. Yeah. And so, you have to have the desperation to change. There's a book I have on my bookshelf called Change Before You Have to. And that's always the challenge, right? Everybody waits to have the heart attack before, all right, now I got to lose weight, or the diagnosis, or whatever it is. Like, now is the time to get in shape. I have been for the last 5 years particularly like, hey, I don't want to wake up in my 40s and have issues. I don't have any issues right now, but let's change before I have to. But it's tough to find the motivation. It's easy when, all right, doc says, hey, don't do this. If you don't do this, you're going to die. I mean, that becomes a different level of inspiration. You find to use that word. So how do you help people to change that don't want to change? Like, you've had to have had an employee or two that you're like, you need to change. Let me help you. Do you create situations? Do you create circumstances that make them desperate? Do you try and make it miserable at work so that they're like, hey, I need some help?
And honestly, that hunger that you talked of is necessary. I mean, you're not gonna, even if you torture someone a little while, they'll just have pain. They're not ready to change until they're actually, it's their idea and they're hungry for it. And you can like throw little suggestions at them. But and I've had a million of these conversations with people who want to teach me, right, and want me to come away more closer to them rather than the other side. And that's annoying as could be. Yeah,
and I think too, you have to. There has to be some level of hunger, desperation. I think that's action point one. If you don't have the hunger, the desperation, we can give you the 5 keys to fixing your finances. But if you're just not hungry to fix it, you're going to continue to be in debt. You're going to continue.
We'll talk a year from now, and you'll still be holding the keys.
Exactly. And so, at some level, you got to find that hunger, that desperation somewhere. Some people find it in inspiration. Some people find it in circumstances. Where do you find your hunger from? Where does that come? How do you cultivate that?
I'm telling you, more of it comes from vice than virtue. It's one of those things where you're right. People are on the hospital bed, right? And that's when a good idea occurs to them that they might want to get in shape. You could tell them every day, hey, guy, by the way, hospital bed's in your future. Oh, yeah, right? Yeah. But it's going to come with something that's painful, that shakes you up and wakes you up. Because, I mean, our culture, for as bad as it gets, it's still awesome. Like, compared to everybody else,
100%.
You could be in what you would consider poverty and still have it okay.
Yeah, totally agree. So you have to find that hunger, that passion, that space in yourself to do what you were built to do, to overcome some of these hurdles. Because it's the only thing. It's why, you hear people, quitting smoking is really hard, right? And people try the patch and the gum and all of that, and then for somebody, they find, a picture of their kid in their pack of cigarettes and they just can't do it anymore. Like, you have to find the thing that pushes you to that spot of pain where you're like, I just can't do this.
Right.
And it's why vision boards are so cool and some of that stuff, because you can put that in front of yourself every day. So let's say you get somebody and they have the hunger. They're like, I'm ready to change. I've just been looking for the right information. I don't have... I don't know what I need to do next, but I'm hungry for X change, whatever it is, something with their finances, their health, their life. I want to be a more generous person. I want to be, I want to have better relationships. I want to lose weight, whatever it is. They finally got the chutzpah, the hunger. They're ready to go. What's the first thing you do with them?
Oh, this can be mean, but it's necessary. So here we go. This is kind of real talk, and it's oversimplified, and there's more to it, but this is my general first sentence because it kind of resonates a little bit. Now, first of all, if what you wanted was what was easy, you would already have it.
Correct.
And so if you sort of like go into the future and look at the guy that has it, the version of you that has it, and look back and see why you aren't that guy, it's 100% going to be something that you've set up in your way between here and that. And that's really the only barrier that if you don't know why you don't have it right now, nobody in the world can help you. If it's because you don't wake up early, we got our answer. If it's because you need to be better with money, you have your answer. If you can't control your temptations, then you have your answer. But you got to arrive at the barrier, the one barrier that's between you and it, that doesn't involve like the economy or who's president or your neighbor down the road. It's got to be a you thing, and you got to be able to name your barrier.
Yeah. So the barriers are usually staring back at us in the mirror. And there are things that we put there, is what you're saying. So, if I have an issue between me and $1 million, it's not the economy, it's not my boss, it's not the business, it's not the area, the country I live in. It is something with me.
Yeah, because you want the million and the million wants you. There's something coming between you.
That's good.
Thank you.
So you're gonna help them identify a barrier.
Yep.
So you got to have the hunger. Then we want to identify a barrier, and then once you identify that barrier, then you get into, all right, how do we dismantle that barrier?
And it's easy because once you identify it, it's usually not overcomable. Like it usually, there's some people that have some afflictions that are really something that we need outside help to conquer.
Yeah.
But most of them are not. They're stupid things that we've dressed up, things that are under control, and that they aren't under our control. We made it into a monster when it really wasn't.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think for me, for the longest time, I know the biggest thing that I've begun to change with is in my finances personally and at the church, just the way that I'm seeing them. And I remember in our first early conversations, I making the excuse, well, like I was raised this way and this is what I saw and this is what was modeled, and essentially not even making an excuse for the way I was, but for the excuse I was going to live the rest of my life. Well, of course I'm going to be paycheck to paycheck. And my parents went through a foreclosure and they went through a bankruptcy and they went through, like, they weren't good with money. So therefore I will have to be. And, one of the first things that, as we talked, that you were kind of like, this whole right here is your biggest problem.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we're going to shift your words. We're going to shift your thoughts. And as that stuff changes, it's amazing what happens.
and notice I have not had to correct your words in like months, right? Yeah.
Well, and even in the beginning, I could see it on your face sometimes when I'd say stuff, and you sometimes were polite enough that you would be like, "Oh, just let him spin here for a little bit." And
well, even the last thing the revival or bust, the cross out thing, that was the last thing I had to correct.
I know. It was funny. You weren't the only one. I got 3 of them back.
Love it.
I think for me, it was realizing that, hey, just because I was raised a certain way, those neural pathways and the thought process and the experience all led me to a certain place. Didn't mean that place was right. Didn't mean it was necessarily wrong. It was just where I was at.
Right.
And then from there, I go, all right, I don't want to be that. So I can focus on not being that, or I can focus on doing the things to become what I want to be.
Right.
And create the space for that. And so, and the crazy thing is I haven't made that much more money, but I seem to have more money.
Isn't that weird?
It's super weird.
Yeah.
I haven't, I haven't budgeted any differently. We haven't, just in thinking about it differently, it shows up when we need it. And it's wild.
Because it's infinite, and then
correct.
You have embraced it.
Correct.
Same thing happens with time. When you'll notice that when you do the same thing with time, you didn't really do anything different, but it seems like any time that you need time, it just shows up in perfect proportions.
You and your Jedi mind tricks.
I know.
Do or do not. There is no try. Yoda.
Well, and speaking of like the people that kind of walk through this, and then you give them their obstacle, and you know that they've got kind of normal brain thinking. Well, we're still in sort of hand-holding mode, where I will walk with that person till they get to those parts, till they believe me that it is something that's achievable. And if you can get someone to either go beyond that point, they don't even need me anymore. They're just going to go gangbuster. If they retreat a little bit, like they're not ready for it because now they're going to argue that it is too big and you're wrong and it's not overcomable, then they need to circle back, get hungry again, and then try it again somewhere at a later time.
So hunger, dismantle the obstacle. And then once you dismantle the obstacle, the solution comes.
Big time.
Okay.
You ready for the next one?
When the solution comes, what happens?
Okay. So this is still, you can notice that there's the first one's a battle of you, and the second one's a battle of you. The third one, battle of you. Fourth one, battle of you. So I think we got the problem in all of this equation.
I can't believe that the person who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue does not have more influence in my life.
Isn't that weird? But so anyway, when you ask for something and you get something, the first thing that you feel is doubt.
Oh,
regret,
100%.
doubt. And
when we went to buy our house, I remember having this conversation with you. Put in the offer, it gets accepted, and then I'm like, oh gosh, what have we done? I'm gonna have to move. We're not gonna be able to sell our house. I mean, 97 things are running through my head. They're gonna need more money at closing than I'm gonna have. I mean, all these things are spinning in my head, and you kept saying you just have to deal with the doubts, follow your intuition, all that. And I remember saying to you, the house wasn't selling. I think we had 14 days till we would have to re-up the contract because we had 30 days or whatever. It was contingent on us selling our house, and I just had this like I need to clean out the basement because that's going to sell our house. Now we had everything in boxes. I just brought it up and piled it nicely in the garage, and the basement looked huge. Took some pictures. We added that to our thing, and I'm not saying that's what sold the house. But
I'm going to add commentary. That's what sold the house. Let me tell you why.
Within 3 days we had an offer.
Let me tell you why. And so like you believed it because the guy that was holding your hand through this said that if you just behave this way, it'll come to you. But when the doubt hit you, like where did that doubt come from? Right? It was you. Yeah. It was from
insecurities.
Yeah. Right. But it was a little bit believable because you're like, well, wait, if the doubt is right.
Sure.
Right. But your first move after the doubt was sort of like your faith personified.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you made that move in faith, the doubt just went away.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't. And let's just say it didn't sell right away. Your doubt would have gone away because that move. So the house sold because the doubt went away. The doubt went away because you had an instance of faith.
Yeah.
And then the next thing. So now you have the house.
So faith It reminds me of a scripture, Joe. Faith without works is dead.
It's dead.
It's dead.
For sure.
It's dead. It does no good.
And then the doubt will be right, and it's dead.
Exactly. A doubting person is unstable in all they do. They're thrown back and forth. And it's true. In that moment, it's like, man, I just made this offer. I was approved by the bank. I had all my ducks in a row. We had cash in the bank. We knew if we sold the house for a certain amount, but my brain was like, you're not going to sell the house for that much. You're not going to, like, it was all the no's. And I was like, we're selling this house. I'm cleaning the basement. I don't know if that's going to do anything, but we're going in, we're going to do it. And then you get the offer, you get the house, and then your brain's still in a spot where you're like, this is all going to get sabotaged. Like all the stars are aligning and your brain still goes to that spot. So you got to be hungry enough for change. Then you got to deal with the hurdle that's in front of you. And then you have to deal with receiving it.
Yes.
Because once you step in to receive the change, you step in to receive the thing you're believing for, you step in, you lose the weight, you make your first $1 million, you overcome the diagnosis, then all of a sudden you have to live with it. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. Like,
there's a name for this part.
Go ahead.
And it's called dread. After you've received for the second time, after you've shown doubt that you're not going to succumb to it, you get it and it's realized. Now there's no obstacles. You can't see anything. You get visited by dread. Like, what have we done?
Yeah.
And this isn't doubt. This is basically hypotheticals get pitched in your brain because now you have the thing that you put all of this work into and all of this energy into.
Yep.
What do I do next? I don't know. I feel stupid at this moment, and then dread visits you.
Yeah.
But if you can knock dread down, dread was a little easier than doubt, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yes, 100%. Well, because you had what you fought for and fought to believe, and the fight is literally between your ears. And it's amazing to me. And there's so many, scriptures that I think of, but, Romans 12:2 says that, we're transformed by the renewing of our mind, by this idea that I get to make my mind new. I get to write the neural pathways different. I get to come to a place where I was going that way, but now I'm going to go this way. And, it's not a instant thing. It's all right, today we're going to think this way, and I'm going to tell myself, and then eventually those things start to become habits.
So if beforehand somebody told you that you're going to get doubt, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to get dread, and just be expecting it and be okay with it, you experienced that. Now, just knowing what was going to happen, did it make it any easier, or was it still
knowing what's coming? Oh yeah. For me, I'd rather have a game plan and know, like, okay, this is around the corner. Like as we've done some stuff since then, it's been easier for me to navigate those 4 steps, because I'm like, all right, here it comes. And as soon as it pops up, it's much easier to squash.
Yeah, you said it, do a place setting for it. It's going to show up. You serve it and get it the hell out, and then you can move on to the next phase.
Well, hey, listen, if you're watching right now, there's a bunch of folks watching, Justin and some others. It's good, Frank. If you guys want to win Joe's money,
we got a call out there. So let's
call.
Let's get over here and see if
you guys can call in too. 330-595-1600, and you can put in to our wonderful thing here. We got a caller, and so we're going to take this call and see if they win.
Their caller. Hola.
Nope. Bueller.
Hola.
Hola.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh my God, I really am on the air.
You are.
Yeah.
Do you have a number for us?
I heard the beep. I did call. Oh my gosh, you guys are listening. Are you listening?
Yeah.
We're listening. It's you. Oh, it hung up. What the heck?
Oh, call back, whoever that was.
No, the whole thing hung up. We lost. All right. We'll get her back.
Thank you for calling.
All right.
Our call just hung up on our person. That's so sad. Well, if you want to call in, 330-595-1600.
We'll try not to hang up.
We'll try not to hang up on you. Joe does want someone to win his $400 and iPod Pros here, or AirPod Pros. Listen to me, iPod. I just dated myself. iPods don't even exist anymore. But if you're watching out there and you want to call in, 330-595-1600. I think we're back on with that, and hopefully she'll call back.
Maybe. Let's try again. She's on the line. I just got to get us back on. We're coming. Stall for me.
Okay. So you have that hunger, then you have the obstacle that's got to come out of the way, then you have the moment where you receive that item, and that's exciting, and then you have dread, and then you get to start the cycle all over again.
Thousands of times. Right.
And it can be big things. It can be little things. There's no thing too big or too small. There's no item that doesn't go through this process, whether we're talking a relationship, a sectional that I went through the same process with the sectional. Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to have the money for it. And, then the money comes and then you're like, oh, okay, now we're going to do it. We go to the furniture store and walk in. I think I don't know if it was the first one. My wife was like, I didn't like anything here. And I was like, oh, now we're not going to find one. No, or it's going to be too expensive. My brain starts doing that. I'm like, can we shut up? We're going to find it. And we found the perfect one, ordered it. And it was supposed to come today. And all of it is there, but the Chase Lounge. So the Chase Lounge comes in June, but the sectional will be there. But it's fighting through those steps each and every time.
So let me outline the process. We're going to take Bob and we're going to take him from the get-go. He says, I want this stuff, right? And I'm going to say, okay, well, there's a reason you don't have it. And let's set up your obstacles, the things that you need to change and organize yourself through. Hold his hand. We walk up to that first obstacle. We nail it, right? So he gets delivered a part of what he's been looking for, and he gets the doubt and says, oh my goodness. And he comes back to me and says, hey, help me through this. And it's just doubt. It's going to visit everyone. You're cool. And then he gets beyond the doubt. Then he gets more realized version of it. Then he gets the dread, right? Now he gets through the dread because, again, we told him it was going to be the dread. Now he's like his own thing. He's got his thing that he's always wanted. Now this is where the rest of the world releases you to just expand on the thing that you've always wanted. Yeah. And most of us are like, what, I got the thing? What the hell do I do now with it? Like, once I have it, like, I got a hand in my hand. What do I do?
Yeah. So walk our viewers through, what's the last thing Joe went through in that process, or what's an example from your life that's really vivid for you, that you wanted, you believed for, you dealt with the obstacle, and you received, and then you dealt with the dread, and then you moved.
The last one that was like negative, like I felt the repercussions. Sure. All right. So the one of them was we were doing marketing for a NASCAR team, and then so we had the ability to go in front of other like famous drivers and do interviews and whatever. And a couple of the situations where, like, I'm doing this stuff and I'd like to get the attention from these other people. And when you get delivered it, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, my interviewing skills are not great. And what if they think that I'm a total, jack and whatever. But that was probably the last one that I had some self to overcome, but then I've done millions of them since then. So it doesn't even register as much as it used to, but that's the last noticeable one.
Okay. Yeah. For me, the house, the sectional and a few other things, but all kind of pertaining to that next step for the family was a big one. Obviously with the church, going through the renovation was a big one for me. That was where I kind of cut my chops on that. You kept like, don't ask for money that way. Don't say it that way. And I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna send this letter, and what are you gonna say in the letter? And being able to formulate and really think through, like, all right, I'm changing the way I say this. I'm changing the way I view this. Was now really,
I've honed that same speech probably 20 times since I gave it to you, and you've actually made my speech better because of how we've given, because you were an easy student.
You're welcome.
And so. Love you. Yeah. All right, let's go to that call. Let's make sure, see if I can not hang up on Sarah this time. Sarah, are you with us?
I'm actually on air this time.
Hello?
Sarah, you there?
I will not hang up. Hello?
No, that was us.
That was us. We had a malfunction on our end. You're good.
Oh, blame your side, huh?
It was Joe's fault.
Yeah. I take it.
So my philosophy, I think, in regards to what you guys are talking about, is called ask, seek, knock.
Yeah.
And it's, if you ask God for what you want, you seek him daily, but you have to knock, and the most important part is you have to listen.
It's good.
That's the part a lot of humans fail at. However, as a human being, I'll tell you the part I fail at is to thank God, because that's the most important part when you ask, seek, knock. When you get your answer, thank him no matter what the answer is even if it's bad, because it's God's answer. You can't doubt him like a doubting Thomas.
Yeah. No, that's very good. Matthew chapter 7, Jesus does that teaching, ask and, you shall find, seek and you'll find, door will be open for you. And he makes this statement. He says, if you who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more does your Father who's in heaven know how to give good things to those who ask for them? And you're absolutely right. When you know your source, it makes it easier.
Well, you know the source, and I know the source.
Yeah.
But and Joe knows the source. But as a parent, do you feel that God tests that scripture every day with your children? Like, as a parent?
Yeah.
I'm like, ask, seek, knock. I'm gonna knock my kid out sometimes. God's not gonna watch that he is. God's watching me being patient as a parent. Is it true?
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough watching our kids because kids are going to make decisions they're going to make. It's nice when they're young and you kind of have control, but then they get to a certain age and it can be a little challenging.
And they get their own brains, and then they study the scripture that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then they put it back in your face, and you're like, oh, God, give me another scripture because I'm going to knock them out. But bless them.
I think it's the mouth that you need to give
it. Spare the rod, spoil the child. That's the other. No, I'm just kidding.
There we go. Ask is not the proper scripture, and you just pulled it out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Wait, the guess for the money.
Oh, yeah. You got a code.
Go ahead, give us the code.
Well, it's for real, there's a guess. 701.
No.
Nope. Sorry, Sarah. Try again on Thursday.
Yeah, try again on Thursday. Call us back on Thursday.
All right. Well, God bless you both and have a great night.
You too. Have a great night. You're welcome.
Cool. All right, if you want to call 330-595-1600, and you can try to win. It's $400 in here plus a pair of AirPods. That every week we've been putting another $100. So this could get a little insane over the next couple of weeks. It's going to get exciting.
Are you going to add another item? Maybe.
Yeah. It depends.
What are you thinking?
I don't know.
Don't add it depends. That's gross.
Oh, that won't do that.
Sorry, that was a bad joke. Dad joke. That was bad.
You're dad. You're supposed to have dad jokes. So what would you what would make sweeten the pot?
What would sweeten the pot? Give somebody a piece of a Bitcoin on a zip drive.
Could.
Somebody would like that.
Gold bullion. That would be a cool one.
Amazon's always good. Amazon gift card's always nice. That's my go-to pastor appreciation gift. I get those and then my wife wants to use them. I'm like, whoa, this is for me. Do you see that card? It says pastor on it. That was for me. And then she spends it anyway. No, it's good. So I think what her point in that is a good crossover. Obviously, we're giving kind of a generic sense, but in a very spiritual sense. That's exactly where I would steer somebody with that ask, seek, knock, in that passage there is a good spot. James 2, what I was quoting earlier, is another one. Like, it doesn't do me any good to be like, I really wish I'd have that. And he's like, you got to take a step of faith. You got to act on it. You got to follow it through. You got to deal with it. He actually says in there, you believe in God. Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. Like, it's great that you mentally assimilate to some of these facts, but if you don't put it into practice in your life and you're not actually stepping out and overcoming certain things, doesn't do any good. How about for somebody that's out there listening and they want to make a change in their life, and they're struggling to find the right maybe mentor. They're hungry for it, but they just don't know where to go to get the information. Or maybe they're an introvert. They're just a little shy. It can be a little tough. They don't want to send 15 messages to Joe on Facebook, but they really would like the help. What do they have to? That may be the hurdle they have to overcome. But what do they do? How would you help somebody like that? Because I know relationships for you are not necessarily there's something you're working on and you're getting better at. But for you, who sees yourself as an introvert in that sense, how do you overcome that side of it when you're like, man, I need help in this area, but I don't know who to ask. I don't want to cold call somebody, and I don't just want to use somebody. And you start.
Well, this is one of the few places where I would scale that mountain to be able to get this information, because I'm very analytical when it comes to this. But number one, you say this all the time, is you got to break out of your current friend group to find that person. They are not around you already. I swear to you, it's not in your family. It's not in the people you're hanging with. It's going to probably be the person that you don't think much of right now. So you got to go into places, and when you recognize, you got to pray for that spiritual guidance to put those people in front of you, and don't be dismissive about it, because the information in other people's heads is way more valuable. And even if it means having lunch with someone who talks funny, like if you sat down with Doug and I, we'd wear you out with our talking, right?
Yeah. So we had a guest speaker this weekend at church, and I am outgoing. I was like, whoa, he had so much energy. And I got home and I said to my wife, I was like, this is how you feel all the time? As an introvert, she's always it was so enjoyable, but I very rarely meet someone that outpaces my extrovertedness. And I was impressed.
Yeah. So when you have to go get the information out of the head, right, you're going to be like disagreeing with where it's coming from the whole time, right? It's not going to come on a platter that's nice and convenient for you. You're going to have to go slay that dragon and bring that information back to you. So when you're picking out a mentor, you're going to have to overcome some stuff because they're not likely going to be just like you.
Yeah. So what are some of the things you do to find that person? So they're not in your immediate sphere. So do you get out the yellow pages and cold call?
So
do you go to Google? What do you do?
I split what I need to go get into like a couple different pieces, right? And then I know that the information is probably in lots of different people's heads. So I'm going to go I know what I'm looking for now. So let's just say in this case that it's relationship help or if it's financial help or whatever. When I start going out there talking to people, that guidance leads me in front of someone. And when I start keying in on what this person has to offer, then I know like where to set my goal is for that, for that discussion. Because I've been in conversations where there's nothing to gain by it. And it was just a exchange of two people, exchanging pleasantries and I move on to the next one. It might take you 20 of those before you get to someone say, oh, got some experience in manufacturing. That's exactly where I'm headed. Or this person has bought and sold a couple of houses and tell me those stories. I want to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. And I think, I know for me, I find a lot of those in my faith communities. Now you may say, oh, pastor, this is a selling point to start joining a church. It's true though. Whether your community is found at school or the Rotary Club or wherever it is, it's very interesting when you immerse yourself in a community like a church or wherever, and you get in with those people, and then all of a sudden you start realizing like, oh, I have a need. Oh, you know what? That person does da 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 da. Maybe I should ask them. One of our running jokes, I had a board meeting last night. Anytime we have an issue, for the longest time was, we needed something fixed in the building. Somebody like, you know what? I got a guy. I know somebody. And it was really neat because it was never like cold calling these businesses to have them come fix something. They were like, oh, my cousin does this, or what, my friend from college, he does da 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 da. Even we're trying to navigate some things on our business and finance team, and somebody was like, oh, my sorority sister, Yvonne was like, my sorority sister, works for Chase or whatever. Here's her business card, and it was like, oh, everybody. And when you're in a community like that, it just makes things easier,
right?
We're even, you and I've been talking, and we've been talking about even at the church, like how do we resource people and meet needs, and we're going to try and figure out how to, I don't know, kind of collect, I guess is probably the better word for it. Information from folks that, hey, I'm a business owner, or I work at thus and such and I need da 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 da, or I'm hiring, or I have a need for that, and kind of create a database so that we can come alongside and say, you know what, Mark, let me introduce you to Frank over here. He has this, and let me introduce you to Jim over here. He's got that, and you guys should collaborate on that, and that would be really cool. And then you have this great, relationship that just takes off, and it lets the community do what it's designed to do.
All right, so let's spell this out on how it's actually going to play out so you can hear this, and I'll make it a little bit funny because that's what I do. So the first thing that you're going to do, you're going to say, okay, well, in order to meet the people that I need to know, I'm probably going to have to break out of my comfort zones and friend groups. So I'm going to sit around and think, okay, well, like, I really wish I had an opportunity to go be in front of people that I normally are. Oh, yeah, you want me to go to a family? I'm not going to do that. Like, oh, that phone call might have been that thing that I just turned down. So I find myself saying yes to really stupid stuff, right? Giving a chance that I might be in front of someone who I'd never really would be in front of. So it's like, I'll go to the grocery store. Maybe I run into somebody. Maybe I go to church. Maybe I go to Rotary. But in the real world, that stuff will start to come to you. And if you're open, like, I want to say yes to the next person who asks me to do a thing, and I don't care what that thing is, your phone's going to ring. And as long as you say yes, then the phone will keep ringing in those departments.
Yeah, no, that is so true. I've taken some meetings that some people would say, oh, pastor, that's a waste of your time. And even stuff like, when we were allowed to go and visit people in hospitals, I had multiple times where people were like, oh, can you come visit my brother's, friend or whatever? They're going in for heart surgery. They don't really go to church anywhere, but it would just be so nice if you just stopped by and said, hey, our church is praying for you. And sometimes I can make those, sometimes I can't, but I can tell you story after story, probably 3 really key ones where I went to the hospital, prayed for somebody I'd never met before because somebody at our church, it was a family member, a relative, whatever. And then the family sits around and is like, I can't believe your pastor showed up. And I was like, I was just in the neighborhood or whatever, but I had to schedule it. I had to set aside time. I had to, move something around to make it happen. And, but I obviously not going to be like, I canceled my, I'm not going to do that, but no problem. It's no big deal. Pastor, can I get you a cup of coffee or whatever? And then, next thing you know, you're having this hour-long conversation with a family that's never going to come to your church. And there's one whole family I can think of that I went and prayed for the dad, and then they started coming to church, and then the kids started coming to church, and then there's a whole pocket of them now that are members of the church and key leadership stuff because I showed up at the hospital and prayed for dad before he went in for a big surgery. And I could have blown that off like, he's not a member of my church. Like I could have come up with 19 reasons not to do that. And so I try and take some of those meetings that are a little goofy and outside the norm, or what people would be like, it's no big deal. If I didn't do it, nobody's gonna be upset with me. You know what I mean? It wasn't like an expectation. But man, I so many times or a pastor will say, hey, you got to meet so-and-so. And I'm like, do I really have time for that? Or whatever. And then you do, and you're like, you hit it off, and all of a sudden it's like a key contact for you.
Right. I call that sort of like dimensional relations or dimensional thinking, where if you get caught up for what that is going to pan out versus that one that got to that one to got to that one. Yep. And if you're open to that, you'll see some of those multidimensionals. If you're willing to look past that, I just had a meeting and I didn't get paid off in it in one deal and still be open to the next one that follows.
And even social media opens this up even greater because, Ty Buckingham and Michael Rowan, I met Michael Sunday morning in person for the first time. So we had some mutual friends that thought we would hit it off and thought we should meet. We sent each other Facebook friend requests. Then he messaged me and said, hey, could I give you a call? I said, absolutely. We talked for 45 minutes on the phone. I'm like, man, that guy seems pretty legit. I watched some YouTube videos. I asked a few people about him. And then next thing I knew, I was like, you know what? Let's schedule this guy to come in. And then, he could have totally bombed. Like I didn't I did my homework as best I could, but the only relationship we had came through social media. The same thing was true with Ty Buckingham, who we've had in several times now. So, in those instances, social media opens that platform. It doesn't just have to be a person you meet in person. You can say yes to, phone calls and friend requests and stuff like that. My wife makes fun of me because she's very much like, if I don't meet them in person and if I look at their picture and see their name and I don't know who they are, I'm not accepting them as a friend. And me, I'm like, we got 10 mutual friends, accept. And she's like, you don't know who that is. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like at some point they could stroll into the doors of the church. Maybe they're a cousin of so-and-so and they're watching church online, or maybe, they're a friend of a friend or whatever, or they're curious about something. Like to me, that's the tool and the way that I use social media. And I think that it's all up to you. I mean, certainly not everybody's got to use it that way, but to me, it's far too valuable not to use it that way.
Let me give you like a black diamond thing. And I've done this for the last 15 years.
Black diamond?
The black diamond. Okay. You know what black diamond is?
No. Yeah.
All right, when you go skiing, black diamond is like the most challenging version of it.
Yeah. I'll tell you a skiing story when you're done.
Okay. So for the last, at least a decade, on Saturday mornings, I message people who have zero chances of, getting back in touch with me. I make requests that are off the wall, right?
That's
and
really cool.
I don't have expectations that it's ever going to land in the message box. It's never, some of them will happen, I have no doubt.
Sure.
But what it opens it up to is that I sort of like take the temptation of needing like feedback and acknowledgement and success from an action. Mm-hmm. And so if I send 6 of these every Saturday for 20 years and it just becomes part of who I am, some of them land and catch fire and most of them do not. It sort of opens something inside of me where I'm just used to putting out so many different feelers without needing to feel anything back to keep doing the action. You know what I mean? It sort of disconnects that needing from that process.
So how is that like a black diamond? Help me understand.
Well,
do you almost die when you go send this?
No,
messages.
No.
Do you have to wear a helmet to send those messages?
Share your demon story with me. I need to know about your Black Diamond skiing demon.
So my
story.
wife is probably going to hate that I'm telling this story.
Okay. But that's what we do. We put little wedges in our relationships over this program.
She'll forgive me. So we were newly dating, maybe 18 months. I was still in high school. We were high school sweethearts. Her family went on a skiing trip, and I had never been skiing in my life. And they invited me to go, which I was super pumped about. They got a huge cabin with 2 or 3 other families from church, and they were like, sure, Doug, you can come. It was cool. Her brothers and I, bunked up in one room, and so we go out to go skiing the first day. I have never been skiing in my life. Like ever. I'm a mediocre rollerblader. Okay. Like it is not, no, but I'm athletic. I'm playing sports stuff. She goes, you're going to be fine. You're athletic. You'll figure it out. Be great. So I'm also terrified of heights. Terrified. I mean, it's not so much being up high, it's the falling and dying part. Okay. So we get the skis on and we shuffle our way over to the quad ski lift that goes like 900 miles an hour to the top. It's not the slow one. This is the speed lift or whatever. I don't know how fast it goes. It felt like it was going fast. And they're like, you don't even need to put the bar down. I'm like, put the bar down. So Sam is sitting next to me. I'm in the middle. And then my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and not at the time. At the time, they were my Mr. and Mrs. and yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and right? All that stuff. We're going up the ski lift. I've shuffled from getting my ski rental over to the ski lift and sat down. I have no concept for how to slow down, how to speed up. I don't know how to use my poles. I don't know anything.
They're going to show you when you get to the top.
No bunny hill, no nothing. They take me all the way to the top. They're like, it's like a double green circle or something like that. It'll be easy. We get to the top, we're coming to the top, and I'm seeing, and this thing's coming to the top, and it slows at the last bump and then drops you off. I go, what do we do? How do we get off? She goes, just bend your knees and go. I'm like, what do you mean just bend my knees and go? She goes, just bend your knees and go. We get to the top of this thing. I come down. I fall. I take my mother-in-law and father-in-law out. The ski lift hits me in the back of the head. They have to shut everything down. I can't stand back up. The whole thing.
You didn't figure it out.
They were like, what are you doing? And I was like, So then we're trying to get down, and poor Sam just wants to go. She's been skiing since she was, Abraham's age, like 3 or 4 years old, been flying all over the place. She wants to do the double black death trap. And all I want to do is go sit in the lodge by the fire and just leave me alone. I'm a beer. And, so it takes us like an hour and a half to get down this double, because I'm literally going whoosh, back and forth as slow as possible, and they're like, just pizza. I'm like, what do you mean pizza? I don't know. They're like, just pizza. I'm like, I'm gonna die. So I finally get all the way down to the bottom of the hill. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but you mentioned Black Diamond,
so you got to tell the story.
So we finally get down to the bottom. My father-in-law was awesome. He was like, Doug, he said, come with me. I spent the whole afternoon with him on the bunny hill, taught me all the ropes, and then I had fun for the next 4 days. It was a blast, and I don't think I fell the rest of the time we were there. Now, I'd never made it up to like a Black Diamond, but I think I did one of those, I think it's a blue square or something like that. I tried 1 or 2 of those, but it was much more fun after I knew what I was doing and I felt a little more comfortable. So I did figure it out, but my wife overestimated my athletic ability and coordination with skis.
All right. Well, I've never skied, so if you ever want to put me in that pressure cooker and watch how it comes together.
Sam wants to go back in the world. We have not been skiing in forever, and she was like, she would love to take the kids. I think they would have a blast. I said, I'll take the kids too, Ben. It's still not one of my favorite things. We've gone back once or twice, but it's probably been 10 years since we've been skiing. Probably before we were married, which we've been married 12 years on Saturday, which is crazy. Feels like
congratulations.
Feels like yesterday. Nice. We're actually the following weekend. We're going away, which we're really excited. My mom's coming out to watch the kids, and we're going to the tree houses out in Amish country.
We went there last year. It was amazing.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see it. Somebody said we have to go to, there's a restaurant out there. They're like, you have to go to this restaurant. And then I don't know what we're going to do. I was like, what else is there to do in Amish country?
You can't miss it because there's one. There's one restaurant.
What's it called?
Oh, man. Deb could tell you.
Oh, okay.
And it's cool because they have more parking for horses than
I
they
have
do
it written
cars.
down. Bishop and Pastor Kathy was who gave it to me, and I have it written down. We looked it up. It's like 5 minutes from where we're staying.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's really great. And I don't know. It's Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're excited to go. We've gone away, the two of us, for our anniversary in a couple of years. So
sweet.
It's going to be good. Well, we're way out of time.
Yeah. We're planning in the next couple months. We're going to take Gus the bus, and all of us hosts are going to go up to Geneva on the Lake, and we're going to do remote, and we're going to be broadcasting in front of the public. Right.
Okay.
So we got some of those things planned out. We have draft night that's coming up.
Yeah, I saw that.
We're going to do the NFL draft. We got a couple of people that are going out to a couple of the local restaurants here,
that's
and
fun.
they're going to do sort of like crowd control or reporting on, there's going to be a Browns group over here, and there's going to be a Vikings and Steelers group over here. I don't think there's a Philadelphia contingent here.
I'll show up with my face painted.
Do it up, man.
I'll wear my jersey. I don't know. It might be a sad draft for us. I'm not. It'd be lying if I said I'm looking forward to the season. I think they're in rebuilding stage. They got a new coach, and we'll see. We're also going to have some guests on this show. I've been trying to line up, a couple of business people. I have a friend of mine from Israel, a rabbi, that's going to be on. He's coming in June, and so we're going to line up some guests for this. But
the Doc's coming back too.
Doc's coming back. Yep. That's right, and we'll do some more health stuff, which will be fun. We got a fun lineup. We'll have to put out some teasers with some of that stuff as it gets closer. But we hope you enjoy the show. Don't forget to call in on Thursday for a chance to win Joe's money and Joe's AirPod Pros.
There you go.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and